I'm the Hooded Lid and welcome to my channel. Today I wanted to do a video on new perfumes in Sephora. If you go onto the website or the app and you look at new and then you go to perfume, you will find a lot of things. But these are four that I smelled in person, and I got samples of them and took them home and tried them all for several days in a row, and I have some thoughts and I want to share them with you because it might be helpful. YSL came out with a perfume called Libre. Now I'm going to read this to you. Libre Eau de Parfum is the new fragrance of freedom from Yves Saint Laurent, a statement fragrance for those who live by their own rules. A reinvention of the floral perfume. It combines lavender essence from France with the sensuality of Moroccan orange blossom for a unique floral fusion complemented by the daring note of musk. Musk is not daring on any shape, way, or form. Now, this is quite a marketing statement. We all know marketing is trying to convince us that what you're buying is something unique and it's never been done before. In fact, lavender in perfume is nothing new, and this is something that determines in men's cologne or perfume a FOUGERE, which I'm probably pronouncing wrong, and I will put it down below. It is French. The FOUGERE is one of the categories of male colognes, and it's a very, very popular one, and I dislike it a lot. This scent is a unisex. It is for men and for women, absolutely. It doesn't smell exactly like a men's cologne. It is a little bit different, and that's a good thing. Let me continue reading on this one. A gender-bending riff on the FOUGERE, the traditionally masculine fragrance category that is heavy on the herbaceous lavender and earthy oak moss. Oak moss we've spoken about before. It is no longer legal to use oak moss in perfume, so you can throw that aside. I don't know why they continue to use this as a marketing tool. Thanks to an infusion of hyper-concentrated Moroccan orange blossom and a proprietary note exclusive to YSL called Diva Lavender. I don't know a whole lot of men who are going to be excited to be wearing something with the word diva in it, which isolates the freshest elements of the aromatic purple flower. Any overt muskiness is effectively tempered. Okay, well, if the musk is so daring, which it's not, why do you want to temper it? I don't know. It's just, marketing makes me nuts. That's why I'm here, to separate the marketing from the realness. But I also like to bash marketing once in a while. It's just who I am, you guys. I can be pretty about marketing. Okay, quickly, YSL is an aspirational brand. Most people cannot afford to drop 10 grand for a YSL outfit. Some people will spend $800 on a pair of shoes or $3,000 on a purse because they feel it's an investment piece and it's something everyone can see, and it's like, yeah, look at me, I'm fancy. YSL and houses like it make a lot of money on that aspirational nature because they don't make as much money selling their clothes. So when they come out with perfumes, they are more likely to try to appeal to a very broad audience. They're not very likely to do something unique, heartbreaking, one of a kind, something you'll cherish. This is stuff that it's just stuff. It's just stuff. And I'm not picking on YSL. I could say that for many, many, many high-end brands. Okay, that aside, let's talk about the juice, because that is what matters the most. The juice. I got some notes here. This was developed by Anne Filippo and Carlos, I think you pronounce it Biname. She has done other things for YSL, and she's done several things for L'Artisan. He has done some things for Frederic Malle, and those are both, L'Artisan and Frederic Malle, very reputable in the perfume business. They do unique, interesting things. He also did White Diamonds, which is, you know, I don't think that falls under super unique. It was super successful though. And I had read that that made Elizabeth Taylor more money than her entire movie career combined. And I believe it, because there's a lot of money in the perfume business. The notes, just like already said, lavender, orange blossom, mandarin, neroli, amber, vanilla, and musk. I don't like this genre, but I did find this perfume compelling, and I did keep on going back to it. Like, let me figure this out. Let me see. There is something I like about it, and possibly it's the lavender. Now, lavender to me, I love in real life. I love it in gardening. One of my neighbors has a lavender, and I will oftentimes pinch off a couple of flowers and rub them between my palms, take a nice deep breath. I love it. Dried lavender comes in satchels you put in drawers. I don't like that. That to me has a medicinal nature to it. And to me, lavender is oftentimes medicinal, and sometimes it's just downright, it's a stick up in a public toilet. It's not, I don't find it to be relaxing as many people think or say that it is, and I don't find it in perfume to be enjoyable. But here, it is different, and it is something I kept on going back to over and over again. At the end of the day, I personally didn't like this and I wouldn't buy it. And I'll tell you how I got to that place. I woke up one day and put on a t-shirt that I had worn the day before, and it still had that scent on it. And it smelled exactly like that men's cologne that I dislike so much. So for me, a no. But I will say, this is an interesting and somewhat unique fragrance, and it might be a yes for you if you like the fougere, or if you really, really love lavender in perfume. I think this is well worth at least getting a sample of to give it a try. Although for me, not so much. Chanel has something new. It is called Gabrielle Essence. I have not tried the first Gabrielle, but apparently this is a stronger version of the first Gabrielle. I can't imagine what that would smell like, since this to me is not particularly strong. Whereas the YSL, the whispers of it will stay with you for some time. This doesn't, and I think we can be thankful for that. This is very generic, very uninteresting, very stripped of any personality. The bottle itself is absolutely beautiful. I will give it that. But I think for the House of Chanel, which is an incredibly important perfume house, this is a company that has their own fields in France of lavenders and roses and probably other things. I haven't looked it up. Iris, I think. They're very choosy about the ingredients that go into their perfume. Unfortunately, in this case, I don't think they were particularly choosy about the perfume itself. The idea was to compose a fantasy flower that doesn't exist by putting together a bunch of other flowers. Again, this is marketing bullshit. And I get to say that because I'm not monetizing. Yay! This has been done before. It's been done many times before. It's, oh, I want to create a flower, this little flower nobody's ever smelled before. It is I compose it of these ingredients and some other things I got from, you know, chemicals. This is what they say is in it. I'm not being nice. And I'm okay with that because I'm here to do a service. I thought maybe I won't do this one because I don't have anything nice to say about it, but then I thought, what's the point? If I smelled it and I don't have anything nice to say and I don't say anything at all, then I'm not being completely honest and I'm not doing you any favors. And you might also find that you disagree with me entirely every single time. So if I don't like something, you know that you're going to go get it. I mean, I use a lot of YouTubers that way. So, you know, there's that. Citrus and red fruit. That generally means red currant. And citrus generally means lemon. You know, it's a typical open. It's nothing unusual. Then we have jasmine, ylang ylang, orange blossom, and tuberose. These are beautiful white florals that are indolic. Now, I've spoken about indols before in another video, and it's I-N-D-O-L-E. Look it up. Don't let it scare you. But indols bring complexity, body, fullness, and something a little off, a little wrong, sometimes a little naughty to the florals. And that's really, in my view, what really, really makes them so beautiful. When they're stripped of all that, they're nothing. It is not interesting to me. It is completely benign. Now, if you like a perfume that isn't challenging, it doesn't make you lift up your hand to smell it all day, it doesn't make a statement, it's almost shy, but not quite shy. It's just very vanilla, very generic, then you will like this, I think. For me, this is a disappointment, and it's a disappointment considering A, what it is, and B, who it's coming from. From Chanel, I would expect a little bit more, but like YSL, Chanel makes a lot of money in this business, and these companies do a lot of research to figure out what people want and what sells well. And I guess they have figured out that people really want this, or it's going to sell to a broader audience than their exclusives line, which really can be very beautiful. I don't love all of them, but there's a couple that are really, really good. I love Chanel No. 19, but that is a challenging fragrance, and it took me a long time to get to like it, and finally bought a bottle because it's not an easy fragrance. It's unusual, but beautiful, but you have to kind of grow to love it. And you don't make a lot of money making perfumes that you have to grow to love, is my estimation. For me, I think this is a fail because the juice itself is so uninteresting, and because it's from the House of Chanel, which I think really deserves more respect than this. But you might like it. If you like those kinds of scents, I'm not judging. Go out and get a sample. But it's a pass for me, and honestly, I would almost say an embarrassment for Chanel to come out with something like this. All right, so next we have something by Giorgio Armani. I cannot pronounce this, so I'm going to put it down below. This really surprised me. Giorgio Armani is not a line that I follow, that I'm completely familiar with. It is, again, an aspirational line. They make a lot of money in makeup, and I imagine they make quite a bit of money in perfume. But once again, their clothing's very, very expensive. So this kind of line, you know what? I just hit 3. I didn't realize that 3 out of 4 are from aspirational lines. That's interesting. But I digress. It was impossible for me to find who was the perfumer on this. The perfumer on the Chanel, by the way, was their in-house perfumer. It was impossible for me to find notes of note. The one thing I got was gardenia, and to that I absolutely agree. Now, I only realized a couple of years ago that not everybody in this country has smelled gardenia, because it doesn't grow everywhere, and it's kind of a rare flower. If you live in a big city, you might have a florist who will ship it in from somewhere else, but if you don't live in a big city, it's very possible that you've never had the pleasure of smelling a fresh gardenia on the bush, and it is, it's like angels singing. It's a beautiful, beautiful, complex scent. If you're familiar with gardenia, close your eyes and really try to articulate what you're smelling. It's not like gardenia candles, which tend to be quite sweet. Their gardenia does have a sweetness to it, but it also has a waxiness to it, a coolness to it, and a somewhat meatiness to it as well. It's beautiful and complex and screams, to me, spring. But it's great in the summer too. This fragrance is a very nice rendition of gardenia, which is very, very hard to do because unlike roses, for instance, or even orange blossom or jasmine, it cannot be rendered from the flower. It has to be chemically structured. And oftentimes perfumers really miss it. There's a lot of leeway for them to balance it out with other things, to give it a tendency towards one side or another side. And there are some very interesting renditions of gardenia out there, and there's some very uninteresting ones. Estee Lauder did one, I think it's called Tuberose and Gardenia, or Gardenia and Tuberose. I'm not sure if it's still on the market, but it was very, very popular. It's very, very pretty, but it's not really all that close to a real gardenia. And this one from Giorgio Armani is a little bit closer. It doesn't capture the complexity so much of the gardenia, but it's not as sweet and cloying as most gardenia scents are. I wish I could remember. Somebody did a rendition of gardenia that was very, very close, and I don't know if it's still on the market. If I can remember what it is, I'll put it down below. Subtitle it. But for me, this is such a pretty, interesting scent. And for you, if you like that kind of scent, and it's between the Chanel and the Giorgio Armani, I would do the Armani. It's the same thing. It's not challenging. It's not busting the doors open. It's not going to enter the room before you do, but it's really, really pretty. And between those two, that's the way I would go. And finally, the Jo Malone. Jo Malone is a brand that does nothing but perfume and candles, scented things, and they come out with a lot of product. I find for my taste, the only thing I love from them is the orange blossom. It's very simple, but it does have a little bit of the indoles in it, so it's kind of a little bit heady, not too heady, and it's beautiful, perfect on a spring day. Just as we go from winter to spring, and it's like the first warm day and it's sunny and there are puffy clouds in the sky and there's a little bit of a breeze, this is perfect. I think they have executed that one perfectly. But nothing else from Jo Malone really has captured my heart or my interest. I think that the things they pair together are just odd. They don't make natural pairings. I know Jo Malone has a lot of fans. They are a huge company, but I'm not one of them. This is called Poppy and Barley, and it was part of their English Fields collection, and it's been brought back to be in their permanent collection. Again, I couldn't find who the perfumer was, and I don't know what kind of poppy they are using. There's probably hundreds of poppies, but the poppies I'm familiar with do not have scent. But there's another poppy I've seen, and I'm not sure, I think it's a Mexican poppy. It's a very large bush, or can be, if it's not trimmed. It can be 12 feet high, and it has a yellow center and white petals. Whereas the poppies I'm used to, they will bloom in one day and the petals will fall off in the next day, and that is not scented at all. And it is a very pretty scent. I don't believe it to be indolic, but honestly, I can't say that I'm necessarily getting that from this. There's definitely a floral attitude here, but it's imperceivable what that is to my nose. The barley, however, is really interesting. I don't know what barley smells like. I have no idea. I think isn't barley used in, well, some breads, of course, and I'll get to that, but is it used in some beers? I'm not sure. I'm not a beer person. I know hops, but I'm thinking hops and barley. What I get out of this, though, is a little bit of a breadiness. So it reminds me a little bit, L'Artisan did something that I don't believe is in the United States any longer. If it is, it has been reintroduced because it was off for a long time. And I believe it's called FARINE, F-A-R-I-N-E, I'm pretty sure. But definitely starts with bois, which is wood. I'm not sure what farine is. And Frederic Malle has something that has a bready note to it, but it is behind the scenes. I believe that lilac is up front, and that is en passant, which is also beautiful, simple spring scent, just for a very short window of time, depending on where you live, of course. This, they say, is rose, violet, blackcurrant, bran, poppy. There is something a little nutty about this and a little creamy about this, and those are two things I really, really like. But I am also getting this bready nature that I kind of dig. Out of all of these, the things that I kept on going back to try again were the YSL and the Jo Malone. And at the end of the day, I finished the entire sample for the Jo Malone. I kept on smelling it, kept on smelling it. And I do think there's something very asymmetrical about this composition that makes it interesting, but not challenging. And I think that's, you know, something that's important for a lot of people. A lot of people don't want to be challenged by their perfume. This won't challenge you, but it is very interesting. And I would say for me personally, if we weren't about to enter fall, I mean, it's teasing here. It's been cold at night. I was even taking Zicam and vitamin C the other day because I could feel my throat starting to say, hi, I'm getting a cold. But today's going to be in the 80s again. So we're just kind of, you know, right at the edge. If we were in spring, I would consider this. I would get another sample and consider buying this. It is unique. It is intriguing and interesting, but it's not challenging. And I think especially for those of us who work in an office, we want to smell pretty. We want to be remembered for a scent. When people get close to us, they can associate this scent to us. And that's something really actually important for, believe it or not, for developing relationships. There are ways to familiarize yourself, to embed yourself in somebody's brain besides your voice or your face or your, you know, I guess that's it. Your voice, your face, your smell. These are things that help people to remember you and to associate with you. I'm sure we've all had teachers, for instance, that wore a certain perfume that we thought was way too much, and we forever associate that perfume with that person. Memory has, scent has a long memory associated with it. I'm sure most of us have been somewhere at some time and suddenly we're smacked with the scent of something that brings us back to our childhood, our early childhood, where we have no memories at all, but we remember the smell of something. So scent's really important for developing relationships, not to mention your own pleasure. And this wouldn't be a bad one to be associated with. This one, I have to say, is the first Jo Malone I've liked in a really, really long time, and come spring, I might go back to it and consider taking a bottle for myself. So that's it. That is 4 new scents at Sephora. Tested all of them for several days. Don't have entirely nice things to say about a couple of them. Well, one, actually. Just thumbs down for the Chanel. For me, the YSL is a no, just because lavender is not my deal, but I do think it's interesting. If you want something pretty and not challenging, I would go with the GIORGIO ARMANI. And if you want something a little intriguing, but not challenging, consider the Jo Malone. I hope that was helpful to you. I hope that can help you make some decisions about what you want to look at, and I want to thank you for spending some time with me, and I hope you come back again. In the meantime, I'm wishing you a really great day.